So in journalism, when we say amongst ourselves something smells fishy, it probably is. If I told you there was allegations that Donald Trump, members of Brian Mulroney's cabinet, and Bernard Lord joined together to try to get a soil recycling facility into Belledune, New Brunswick in the early 2000s, and the owner of that company was eventually convicted of money laundering, bribery, and stealing from the U.S. government, and he was eventually pardoned by Donald Trump in one of his last things in office, what would you say? A certain person at Woodstock questioned my background when I said I'm connected with Donald Trump. And here goes. This is not me saying this. This is CBC. It was posted November 18, 2016 on CBC New Brunswick by Robert Jones. Ex-Belledune plant CEO gets 5 years in prison for corruption conviction in U.S. Green Party leader David Coon calls a review of John Bennett's dealings in New Brunswick. Now, according to Jones' report, controversial businessman John Bennett, who once charmed New Brunswick politicians and threatened critics of the province as his company won approval to build a contaminated soil incinerator in Belledune, has begun serving a 5-year prison sentence in the States. Bennett was sentenced in Newark, New Jersey in August of that year, of course, to a total of 63 months after jury found him guilty on charges of corruption, bribery, and bid rigging in connection with attempts to win contaminated soil contracts with the U.S. government at so-called SuperFund sites that were meant to supply the Belledune operation. Ironically, the SuperFund sites he was trying to access were in New Jersey and New York, where Donald Trump had heavy connections in those areas. Coincidence, I wonder. Now, John Bennett corrupted the competitive bidding process by paying kickbacks in order to win a Superfund contract. Some people say as early as 2001. Bill Baer, Assistant Attorney General for the U.S., noted this in a statement following Bennett's conviction last March. He literally stole money from the United States. Now, according to David Coon, who is still leader of Green Party in New Brunswick, the MLA, it does raise the question of whether he got up to the same hijinks in New Brunswick. Now, Coon actually was one sued for libel by Bennett's company, Bennett Environmental, said the conviction in the U.S. requires a review of government favors Bennett managed to win in New Brunswick at the same time. Now, Department of Environment spokeswoman Sheila Lagacé said she expected to be able to provide a response to CBC News later on this week, but it never came about. Now, step one. The Bernard Lord government exempted the construction of Bennett's contaminated soil incinerator in Belledune from a full EIA and approved its construction in September 2003, following a quicker internal government review. One member of Mulroney's cabinet and another deputy minister in Mulroney's cabinet were on the Bennett board at the time of the approval. Then New Brunswick Environment Minister Brenda Fowley assured the public the project was safe and conditions placed on it by government following the internal review were strict. However, this led to months and months and years of protests and counter-protests and all that. Now, there has never been any suggestion that Bennett extended his practice of bribery and corruption to New Brunswick, but he did push hard for approvals he received. He made several trips to the province and always spoke highly of his treatment by the provincial government. He was to burn tar sands and Superfund soil for fuel at the Bennett location. The first day they did a test burn, I was there to cover it, the plant caught fire. Okay. Now, according to Bennett, we went through a thorough environmental study carried out by the New Brunswick government. It's taken about 14 months to complete it, and they were very satisfied this isn't a safe process. Bennett told CBC News the day after the Lord government approved construction of the Belledune plant. Now, the Port NB Power location went through a thorough EIA. I covered that in the late 1980s, and for some reason, Lord didn't want the same thing. Now, according to Bennett, this was not a full EIA because it wasn't considered a large enough project or of a toxic nature. Now, Bennett also said he could afford to build a plant in New Brunswick, far from the source of the contaminated soil in New Jersey that was supposed to feed it, because the company was so successful landing U.S. contracts. We happen to have a very efficient process. We bid in these projects in the States, and the last one we bid on, which is a large one we have in New Jersey, there were 6 bidders, said Bennett. We happen to be the best in North America. However, court documents show at the time Bennett actually paid $1.3 million in kickbacks to the contract manager and others to beat out competitors. The payments came in the form of direct money wire transfers as well as lavish trips and entertainment expenses and personal gifts, according to court records. Now, Bennett briefly tried to win over the support of New Brunswick environmentalists, but in early 2004 gave up and filed a defamation suit against the Conservation Council of New Brunswick generally, and his officers David Kuhn and Inka Molesky personally, for the campaign against the Belledune plant. Now, there was numerous hearings on the lawsuit. We covered that, what they were saying as well, that the soil in Belledune was contaminated with various metabolites, including zinc and arsenic, dealing back with the Belledune smelter. At the time, it was still operating. Now, the majority of the allegations had nothing to do with Bennett, but he took it personally. Molesky eventually said this lawsuit dragged on for 3 years before being abandoned. It was really intended to shut us up, she said the week of this report. We knew there was something very wrong about this company. I think justice has been done. The Belledune plant was built, but soil from New Jersey never arrived, and eventually stripped of equipment and sold. The U.S. Department of Justice says 10 people in 3 companies, including Bennett, had been convicted as part of the bid rigging schemes. He was originally charged in 2009 and extradited to the U.S. to face those charges in 2014. He was convicted in March this year, following a 3-week jury trial and sentenced in August. His defense cost $3.3 million, according to Diversified Royalty Corporation, formerly known as Bennett Environmental. So here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I personally did 250 stories, covered about 30 press conferences, various protests, Bruce Colbert, Cayush, Kevin Perrin, Environmental V, Florian Levesque, are very good contact with the anti-forces. The Indians throughout northern New Brunswick joined together against the plant. Various celebrities as well. There was a protest of 2,000 people where John Bennett was burned in effigy. Yvonne Godin led a bunch of protests from that part of Chaleur, the then MP, and I was there to cover it firsthand. So let's look at this for a second. Okay? Bernard Lord gave approval to the plant. The soil contracts were from New York and New Jersey, the same states where Trump has many business contacts down there. Okay? The board of the executive had 1 former cabinet minister and 1 former deputy minister, Mulrooney, on the board of directors. So you got Trump, you got Mulrooney, you got Lord, and you got Bennett. Well, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals 4. Did Trump negotiate or give aid to Bennett down there to say who to talk to? I wasn't there in the room. I really don't know. Why would John Bennett, a BC businessman where you can get tar sands in Alberta, go all the way to New Jersey and New York? Why would he put the plant in New Brunswick? Well, Brian Mulroney is known to have strong contacts in the Maritimes, economic-wise. Bernard Lord, as a supporter of Mulrooney, Premier of New Brunswick. Donald Trump is within 7 hours drive of Belledune. You do the math on that, brothers. Yes, Donald Trump is 7 hours drive from Belledune. If you go through the area, it only takes 7 or 8 hours to get to New York State, which technically is Donald Trump country. So, ladies and gentlemen, I leave it in your capable hands. By the way, I posted something on my Facebook the other day, and this is dedicated to Peggy Gordon and Yvonne Godin and the late Florian Levesque and Kevin Perron, the late Cayush, who passed away recently. When we said no to Bennett, we stood up for Northern New Brunswick. The rights of the people on the North Shore to say no to some more pollution. We stopped Mulrooney and John Bennett and Trump and Bernard Lord by just basically presenting the facts. I was the only journalist that was consistently covered that on a regular basis. And there was a very interesting protest. The RCEP helicopter, Florian Levesque was doing a walk protest on the Route 11 stretch down in Belledune. And NB Power helicopter, we thought it was an RCP helicopter that passed this overhead 37 times. Now, according to my statistics, it's $300 to $500 per pass. So I don't know if they were trying to take pictures of it. What it was. And Roland Hashi was there in effigy. It was like a Jim Henson marionette puppet. And Flo turned to me. He said, Jeffrey, asked them on Monday if they're going to be checking any drug farms. There are drug farms in the Belledune region. And I called him up, and I'm still waiting for the call back. And that's almost 15, 20 years ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am not a stupid reporter. If you think I'm stupid, never play poker with me, because I have all the aces and all the spades, if you know what I'm saying. I lived through it, and my good pal Peggy Gordon, this is pretty well for you. You've been a big supporter of mine over the years. You put me in the right direction. A lot of this coverage. There was a information session in Belledune where a very famous person of Belledune asked the question of the Bennett organizers, "Where are you going to get the soil?" He said, "We've already taken care of that." Okay. It was like a scene from Chasing Amy. He's saying, "Well, isn't that true?" I stood up and said, "Okay, what place is it coming from?" "Oh, we've taken care of that." And then a certain other person stood up. By the time everybody stood up, it was going freaky. It was interesting. Initially, they were talking about a tire recycling facility in Belledune, and it evolved into Bennett. That some people don't even remember. That's another ball game altogether. And they were protesting against a tire recycling facility, and then this Bennett showed up. But people in Belledune really did support it. But that burning in effigy of John Bennett, that was just amazing. I've never seen a hanging like that in my life. He came up with a wooden gallows, and he set him on fire. So it is what it is. So that's the story of John Bennett headed to jail and getting out. If you like what we're doing here with our real life, real news podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.